Everybody loves van life, but what most YouTubers don't tell you is how hard it is to get all of the adventure gear into 100 square feet of living space. Hey y'all, this is Dana from HD.Adventuring, and today we're going to show you how to build a sliding bike rack for a van or truck. This happens to be going into our expedition vehicle. Mountain biking is one of our most favorite activities and one of the biggest reasons why we choose to have an adventure vehicle, so that we can spend more time near the trails that we love. But how do you get your bikes to the trails? What about if you want to park your van in a big city and go explore the city for the day? In order to keep your bikes safe from theft and the elements, we think storing your bike inside your van or truck is the best way to do it. Today we're going to show you how to build a slide-out mountain bike tray to store your bike safely and securely. You've likely seen these slide-out bike trays in lots of vans, and for good reason. They are space efficient, keep the bikes nice and secure, and are relatively cheap to make. We heard some feedback that people enjoyed our hands-on build content, so we decided that we would show you how we are building this bike slider tray for our truck. So Heather and I each have a bike, so we're going to need to build a 2-bike slide-out tray. We've actually already built a slide-out tray for our van that we sold, so we're going to be copying that almost identically from the one we already built. We found the design for that from faroutride.com, I think, and I'll link that in the description for this video. All right, so in our last build, we also used these Rocky mounts. The design has changed a little bit, but these are what we are going to be using. We like the Rocky mounts because of the easy flip open design. It's much easier to place the bike into the tray and clamp down on the axle with this design versus trying to line up the holes in the fork with the axle while in the tray. Cool. So how these Rocky mounts work is that you take off the front wheel and then the mount clamps onto the axle. So I'm going to get these 2 bikes set up, and then we're going to kind of prototype their placement so we know how wide and how long we need to make our tray. My bike is much longer than Heather's bike, so her bike gets moved backwards from mine so that the handlebars don't interfere with each other. But to do this, we need to raise the front of her bike upwards, so we use a piece of 2x6 to do this. All right, so now I'm going to measure the distance that we need for the width of our tray, and then also measure the distance from the front to the back for the length of our tray. So we're at about 19 inches wide, which is about what I was expecting. So the rear of the tray is going to be have about a 2-inch lip to keep dirt and moisture and stuff inside the tray. It's really nice. You can just sweep it out. So I'm going to measure out about 2 inches off the ground on the rear wheels to figure out what the length of this thing is. This is the most different part between every build because all bikes are different lengths. So we're at about 61, 62 inches length. This is a pretty long bike, so that makes sense. A lot of folks who have smaller bikes will probably need a little bit shorter tray. So while we're here, it also makes sense to measure the height of this. This will let us know how high either our bed could go in a van, or for us, how high the door has to be for our garage space. The great thing about this, even though I'm 6'4" and have a really tall saddle height, I have a pretty long dropper post on there. So the bigger the dropper, the shorter you can get your seat, which is usually the highest point of the bike by far. All right, and so my height is 34.5 inches. What you'll need to build this project are 2 of these 48-inch heavy-duty drawer slides, 2 Rocky mounts or other brand fork mounts, some corner brackets to install into the van or truck, and of course, a sheet of 1/2 inch or so plywood. If you want to do it the exact same way I did it, you'll need some wood screws, some wood glue, and paint. I'll link in the video description to the drawer sliders and the Rocky mounts. Once you've assembled all the materials, it's time to start cutting. Make sure to use a good straight edge to mark and cut, as this will make your tray look and function far better. Cut the large base section first, and then measure and cut the sides as well as the back of the tray, and finally the side panels that will mount to the van. Next up is sanding. This just may be the most time-intensive part of the whole project. Use coarse sandpaper to start, and then something finer until you are happy with the smoothness. Once you've sanded all the pieces, it's time to attach them together. One joint at a time, glue the pieces together and then clamp them in place. Use wood screws for an even stronger joint. Once the box is built, it's time to assemble the slides. You can start by mocking up how the drawer is going to slide. You have the outer plates, then the slider, and then the inner box. I have found that it's easier to attach the sliders onto the outer plate first and later attach this assembly to the tray. Start by aligning the slider on the outer plate, making sure it's square with the front and the top of the wood. You can then begin screwing the sliders into the side plates. You'll need to extend the slides in and out to find a number of hidden screw holes under the sliders, accessible via the bigger hole on the slider. I think there are about 3 of these. It cut me. I'm bleeding. I guess now I know what they say about blood, sweat, and tears. I have at least the first 2. Hopefully it all goes well together so that I don't have tears. But seriously, the insides of the sliders are sharp, so be careful. And now that I've administered some simple first aid, let's move on to the crux of this procedure, and that is installing the drawer into the slides. These 2 things need to get attached to this thing. My recommendation for how to install the slides onto the drawer is extend the slides to their full position and then line up the front of the drawer with the front of the slides. And also you have to think about, you want this to slide, so the drawer needs to be elevated. Again, you'll need to manipulate the sliders to find the hidden screw holes. Once you've mounted both sliders to the drawer, you're in the home stretch. I did a quick dry run to make sure the bikes fit well before I finished the project off with a coat of paint for protection. You can also polyurethane, but I chose paint. So there it is, our 2-bike DIY slide-out tray for a van or a truck. What do y'all think? Do you enjoy the hands-on build process? If so, or if not, let me know in the comments and make sure to hit that subscribe button for more.